Hey everyone, I just want to give this quick update video on the Jim Pattison situation. If you're not aware of who Jim Pattison is, he's a billionaire from British Columbia, the guy who owns Save On Foods, all of those billboards, the car dealerships around town, and he has his name on the side of a hospital in Saskatchewan. I didn't know that. One of our viewers actually told me that. But I think he also owns Ripley's Believe It or Not and the Guinness World Records. But if you're from British Columbia, you know who this guy is. And he's in a bit of hot water right now because one of the buildings that he owns in the United States is about to be sold to be used as an ICE detention center. We didn't hear from the Jim Pattison Group last time I mentioned this, but now we did. So I want to share it with everybody. Let's take a look at this first report.
BC companies are under fire this morning for their connections to ICE, the immigration agency in the U.S. Now, pressure is building for billionaire Jim Pattison to walk away from talks to sell a property in Virginia to the Department of Homeland Security. CTV's Martin McMahon has more.
I called for a boycott on BC billionaire Jim Pattison to cut his ties with ICE.
BC Green Party leader Emily Lowen taking to social media calling on BC's most successful businessman to abandon plans to sell a warehouse in Virginia to the U.S. government. The Department of Homeland Security wants to turn it into an immigration and customs enforcement processing facility.
Now, in my last video, I didn't call for a boycott right away on Jim Pattison's businesses. I really wanted to see what he would do. But it's really starting to escalate. And later on, I'm actually going to show you on the other side of the border what their reaction is. Jim Pattison has given multiple donations, big ones, to various organizations, and he has helped out a lot when it comes to British Columbia. But on the other hand as well, I have read that people who have worked for the group, or the car dealerships, or whatever else, it's not an easy company to work for. But regardless of that, I do hope that Jim Pattison does the right thing.
The potential deal is prompting a push for a boycott of all Pattison-owned companies, including Save On Foods, in light of the high-profile killings of Alex Preddy and Renee Good during ICE operations in Minneapolis. Lowen's rallying call on TikTok has received more than 100,000 views.
This boycott of Pattison grocery stores and Pattison media is gaining real traction, and we need to absolutely escalate the pressure while this deal is in talks.
Deputy Premier Nikki Sharma also weighing in on the pending sale.
Just like the rest of the world, we watch in horror about what's happening there. And I think that calls upon business leaders across this province, including the whole country, to think about their role in what is unfolding there.
Now, after watching this, I actually thought to myself, my approach on it before was more of a wait and see what Jim Pattison does. And I realized that's the wrong approach. So that's on me for not doing it earlier. So at the end of this video, I'm going to give everybody the contact information for the Jim Pattison Group. And I know my viewers are very active, and we need to put the pressure on the Jim Pattison Group. I may not get as many views as Klaus or Charlie or any other YouTuber, but I do know that we have a very active and dedicated group that are watching this right now that do want to make a change. So I will post up the information at the end of the video, and I know many of you will express your concerns to the Jim Pattison Group.
A group called Indivisible Vancouver is planning a protest outside the Jim Pattison Group offices downtown on Friday.
It's hard to hurt the super rich, but it's possible. And getting them in their pocketbook is one of a few different forms of resistance that is effective.
So if you can't get down to Vancouver for the protest, you can easily boycott his grocery stores or don't buy a car from his dealership. I don't know how you can boycott the billboards though. Just don't look at them, I guess. But the time is to start now, especially when the deal is not 100% yet. Now I want you to listen to this next guy. He's a real piece of work.
But some question whether a property sale warrants a boycott.
If I'm going to sell a house and you want to buy my house and you agree to my price, why should I really care what you're going to do with that house?
Why should I care? Because I have a heart. I would not be able to sell to Hitler's government, knowing what that house is going to be used for. I would not be able to live with myself knowing that I sold a property and that property is going to be used to abuse people, detain thousands of people, treat them like shit, and being held in inhumane ways. Sure, it's a lot of money, and it's a big transaction. I think he's going to make about 42 million on it. But with that money, if I'm sitting on a beach somewhere retired, I would not be able to get out of my head that my property that I used to own held people that were treated like shit. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me. And if you do agree and you're not subscribed to my channel yet, and you want to hear more from this Canadian who is just an average Canadian and has a loud cat, help my channel out by hitting the subscribe button below.
Separate protest on Friday is targeting Vancouver tech company Hootsuite. It has secured a pilot project with ICE to monitor social media discussions about the agency. The Hanover County Board of Supervisors is meeting tomorrow to discuss the potential sale of the warehouse.
Now, we have received a statement from Jim Pattison Development saying its Virginia building was put up for sale when operating needs changed and an offer was accepted from a U.S. government contractor. The statement reads in part, "Sometime later, we became aware of the ultimate owner and intended use of the building," adding the transaction is still subject to certain approvals. It goes on to say the company doesn't usually comment on private transactions, but respects that this issue is deeply important to many people.
So the offer was approved, but there's still subjects, which I'm not a professional, but if he wants to back out now at this point, he's probably going to have to pay a penalty. Maybe I might be wrong with that. But regardless of that, his reputation in BC and pretty much all of Canada is at stake because British Columbians and many Canadians are not happy with this. And you know who else is not happy? Those in Hanover County, where this new potential ICE facility is going to be. So we got people on both sides of the border that are pissed off about this. There were massive protests from the citizens around that area, basically stating that they don't want this in the county, and they're hoping their local state government rejects this. Now, I was tagged on this in Blue Skies. One of our viewers actually tagged me in this post. But after I read some of the comments, there are people from BC that are saying that we're starting our boycott up here. And then there are those in the US, specifically in that county, thanking us for putting the pressure north of the border. But there's one comment that actually caught my attention from this TLC guy. He's basically saying that Hanover County is ruby red, so it's MAGA territory. And yet, they still had a huge protest from their citizens saying that they don't want this there. Come on. Shh. Hey, I'm almost done. Sorry about that. Well, my point is that things might be changing because in a ruby red state or county, I wouldn't expect to have a protest for an incoming ICE facility. So maybe the people are starting to get fed up down there. I don't know. So what can we do north of the border? Well, we can boycott Save On Foods. We can boycott his dealerships. Don't give any attention to the Ripley's Believe It or Not or the Guinness World Records. And I still don't know what to do about the billboards. Or how can you boycott a billboard? So if anyone has any ideas, let me know. But what we could do right now is let them know that we're not happy. And in order to do that, you can either join the protest that's going to happen on Friday, which is later today, or if you can't, you can send him an email. And his email, I'm going to read out for everybody, admin@jp-group.com. They also have a telephone number, 604-688-6764. You better double check that telephone number in case my dyslexia kicked in. But if I know my audience well, I know many of you will voice your concerns because I know at least 200 or 300 of you emailed Senator Martin. Remember that guy? So let Jim Pattison know that you're upset about this. Okay, everyone, that's all I got for today's video. And for those of you who are missing the cat in the last few videos, well, she's back today for sure. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more perspective from a Canadian, help my channel out by hitting the like and subscribe button below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.